We've got all sorts of crazy news stories ready for you right now on your news refresh. Someone just found a live grenade at a North Carolina junkyard. A new survey says the tooth fairy is skimping out on her payments. And turkey under glass, that's not dinner, that's art. I'm Greg Ott, and we're gonna get into all this stuff and more. But before we begin, throw us a like so YouTube knows you want to see more stuff like this, and subscribe to @TheNewsRefresh on YouTube to get new weird and interesting news stories each and every day. Thanks. Okay, so let's say you've got your hand on a hand grenade. It's customary to throw the thing, but not necessarily throw it in the trash. But that's essentially what was discovered at this junkyard in Grafton, North Dakota. An equipment operator was working through a pile of scrap metal on Wednesday when he came across what local news identifies as this little guy. Yes, a hand grenade. The handle was broken off, but the pin was still intact. Which kind of makes sense because without that pin, well, there wouldn't be much of a grenade left. At first, this article says this guy wanted to take it home with him. A surefire way to scare off solicitors, I suppose. But instead, wisdom prevailed, the police were called, and the bomb squad was brought out, who x-rayed the thing and concluded, yep, the grenade contained live ammunition. Who knows who got rid of this thing? The workers at the scrapyard were sent home, and the bomb squad safely blew the thing up at a nearby landfill, which must have really upset some hungry birds. But at least it didn't lead to the evacuation of an estimated 10,000 English people. You see, on Tuesday, in the English city of Plymouth, a quote, unexploded wartime device had been discovered in someone's backyard.
I don't know what you got there. Oh, it's the high explosive bomb believed to have been dropped on us by Germany around 1940. Oh, chin chin.
The UK Ministry of Defense says this thing was a 500-kilogram unexploded bomb. And on Friday, they carried out the largest peacetime evacuation operation held since World War II. Public transit was suspended, schools were closed, businesses were told to evacuate, and I'm sure tea time was cut short, as more than 1,000 officials helped carry out this operation. Though even though with all that, these people seem to want to check this whole thing out, as the bomb, covered in sandbags, was carted up in this here truck, captured in this incredibly English video, during which something also appears to fall. Would you please be careful when there's a live bomb in the vicinity?
You're missing it! I think.
That's it.
You sure?
Yeah. There we go.
Oh,
You want?
look, quickly. That's got to be it, isn't it?
That is it, yeah.
It's got all the sound in it.
It's got the sand around it.
Only a convoy, isn't it?
No, but look, you'll see I do there. But they've just screamed at some man and made him get in the police van and take him up the road.
Rather than going the grenade route and detonating the thing in a big pile of garbage, our bomb here was instead blown up at sea. Let's hope you weren't trying to get your laps in around then. And just in case you think that's the most dangerous old war relic that's been found lingering around lately, keep thinking. As your news refresh just told you the other day, please subscribe, in early February in Washington State, the cops were called over a Cold War-era rocket designed to carry a nuclear warhead that had been sitting pretty in some dead guy's garage. The thing had been purchased at an estate sale. No word on what kind of price used missiles are fetching these days. And fortunately, at least for the West Coast at large, there was no nuclear warhead attached. Our nuclear missile here is apparently set to be restored and go to a museum where the thing will presumably go on display. Unless, of course, the museum ends up going bankrupt or something and this thing ends up in an estate sale again. Inflation has been slowing down here in the US, but it's still not fully under control. According to a recent Department of Labor report, the Consumer Price Index finds that while prices of things like gasoline and used cars are on the decline, things like medical care, rent, and meals at restaurants are still on the rise. Economic data like this might help explain one area of the household budget that might be feeling inflation's painful pull. The Tooth Fairy. That's according to Delta Dental's original Tooth Fairy poll, which has been gauging how generous the tiny fairy has been since 1998. This thing says the value of a lost tooth just saw a sharp year-over-year decline, plummeting a staggering 6% from $6.23 per used tooth to a paltry $5.84. That's a 39-cent decline, which means if you're a kid and you had your heart set on using your dental windfall to pick up this blackhead removal men's nose mask, plus that iPhone 5 screen protector you've had your eye on, you may be about to be very, very disappointed. Now keep in mind those figures are just for your average lost tooth. When it comes to the first lost tooth, which Delta says typically commands a premium, that's seen a 20-cent decline from $7.29 to $7.09. They also break down their fairy findings by region. The West leads the pack with an average tooth value of $8.54, the Northeast is a cool $6.87, the South is a modest $5.51, and the Midwest carries a dismal $3 $3.63. Which in Lake Orion, Michigan, where I'm from, that won't even get you a hamburger Happy Meal at the local McDonald's. Good thing this thing fell out of your mouth. It's practically worthless. Believe it or not, Delta Dental says their Tooth Fairy's index is a good barometer of the overall direction of the economy, claiming that in 17 of the past 22 years, it's tracked with the movement of the S&P 500. But as they themselves point out, even though the recent value of a tooth dropped 6%, the S&P went up by 20% over the past year. Okay, so what are you really supposed to do with like $6 worth of quarters? Well, you could buy some gum, make a wish or two, or play a few rounds of pinball. As a matter of fact, there's actually a new pinball game that's making headlines right now. J6, an insurrection and educational documentary game. Of course, this game is none of those things. According to its developer's website, it's a modified 1995 Dirty Harry pinball table built to push the massively debunked lie of an apparently fraudulent outcome of the 2020 presidential election of Joe Biden. This thing has been on display at the annual Conservative Action Political Conference. And hey, you're free to download the game yourself if you want. It's got rally modes like peaceful protest, bonuses for Don't Tread on Me, and hey, even a gulag. How's that for a fun story about the Tooth Fairy? Have you ever enjoyed pheasant under glass? Wikipedia calls it a luxurious hot cuisine. A dish of pheasant breast and shallots in a reduced wine sauce served on a plate covered by a glass dome. But for those who aren't primed to enjoy such an extravagance, perhaps you may be more inclined to take a gander at some turkey under epoxy resin. As part of a spring public art initiative, Brookline, Massachusetts has put out a call for turkeys around town, and they're looking to add 10 personalized fiberglass turkey sculptures to its commercial areas. The wild turkey isn't just the unofficial mascot of your uncle who can't hold down a job. It's also a staple of Brookline, as memorialized in this art by a local artist. Mass.gov says the wild turkey, the state's official game bird, has been repopulating since the 1970s, with a current state population of around 35,000 of these things. These fiberglass turkeys will be paid for using COVID relief funds used for public art initiatives, and chosen artists will get $1,000 apiece. Here's a local human.
The pandemic taught us that being outside is healthier, it's good to be outside, and anything that brings people together but outside is only going to be good and healthy.
If you want to be considered for a Turkey Around Town commission, fill out a form at brooklinema.gov. Your application is due in late March, which, at least for the turkey's sake, is probably better than November. And hey, you're no turkey. So while you're here, throw us a hot subscribe at the News Refresh for more stories like these each and every day. Gobble gobble.